So we're gonna do the brakes on my cousin's 2007 Acura TLS, and we have to remove this rear shroud up underneath the hood to get to the brake reservoir. You just pull it up, and we're just going to pop the cap on this to relieve the pressure on the brake lines, so that when we compress her rear calipers, we allow the fluid to come back up in there, so that there's not excess pressure in the lines. So here is the car on the jack stand. Dennis actually
put it on the jacking point, and then we've also put a secondary one right here, distributed the weight 50-50 between the two, just to make sure that if the jack does give, we're backed up by jack stand.
We're gonna do the brake pads on my cousin Kim's 2007 Acura TL Type S. We already checked and made sure the rotors don't have any groove. They're completely smooth, so we're not gonna actually replace the rotors. We're just gonna do the pads. We were told these were 14s in last couple people we talked to, but we actually checked them and they're 12 millimeters for the 2 caliper bolts that will remove this caliper assembly out. This year, 2007, is a 12 millimeter. This is actually your brake bleeder bolt. Here's the cap. So if you needed to loosen this to bleed your brakes, this is how you would do it. We actually removed the master cylinder lid so that we won't have to pop the seal on any of her brake lines. All right, so Dennis has his 3/8 inch ratchet with a 12 millimeter socket on the end. And we're just going to, assuming the shop that put them back on didn't way over tighten them because they used a torque gun. So one of the things that my dad taught me to use a long time ago, and Dennis has been a big fan of, is a cheater bar. Just gives you a little extra leverage. If you get a bolt that's over tightened, it's all about leverage. You don't necessarily need a specialty tool for it. You just need something that helps you increase your torque. Granted, specialty tools are nicer, but old-fashioned hand wrenches still have their place. So he's pulling out both of these 12 millimeter bolts. He's gonna set them here on the ground. You'll see they're the same. He's gonna wiggle this caliper back. You may need a flat head if it gets tight. Dust cap popped off, so we'll make sure we put that back on. It's not absolutely necessary. So here's the caliper. We're actually going to compress that. You see how far out it is? These pads are really, really low. The warning shims were actually going off for us, which was the indicator that she needed to do her pads.
Yeah, there's like no life left in these.
They were really close to metal to metal. Another month or so, she probably would have been doing rotors.
And another way you can tell, look how far this piston is extended. Newer ones, this will be flatter and closer, but yeah, this is way out here.
So we're going to go ahead and just set that rotor
Yep, we're
back.
Gonna compress this.
Well, first we're going to set it up out of the way, and we're going to grab out our brake grease and our components, and we're going to clean that up a little bit. So my cousin bought Duralast Gold brake pads, and they come with the hardware included. I'm gonna put some disc brake quiet on the back of these shims so that when they are mounted on the car, it keeps the vibration and the contact noise from doing this type of a thing and vibrating and causing a squeaking noise. So if you see red on the back of these pads, it's because I've just taken this and went like this. Oop, that's way too much, just so you know. That's gonna get smeared around with my finger on all the pads. Kind of like playing in the paint. Definitely wear gloves when you're doing this, people, because it's messy. It tacks up to like a rubber silicone type of feel, almost like a damp super glue. So you don't need a whole lot. That's plenty there on all these. So this one's got a little extra on it. I'll just use a tissue, pull some of that back, and smear it around. So there you go. All the brakes have disc quiet on them now. This has a OEM like brake compression tool for compressing a brake piston. That's what this green handled tool is on the right.
And you can also use a C-clamp in case you don't have a brake compressor tool, but this was just bought for like $5 at the auto store. But we're just gonna put this right here. Gonna make sure you compress it down enough. And it looks like I still need to compress it down a little bit more.
That's how metal to metal those pads were, just so you guys can understand. So that flat piece is just gonna go right along the red rim right here.
I'm turning it right here.
And it acts as if there is a pad compressing.
You can see that piston
Pushing right back in. Because we pulled the brake reservoir master cap underneath the hood, the fluid's just going back up into the reservoir. That's why we didn't break the bleeder line loose. I don't like to break lines loose unless I absolutely have to, because then you end up bleeding a line. It's kind of backyard mechanic, but I am not an ASE certified mechanic, so, you know, there is that. So you see Dennis has his compressed back to where it's all the way flat. You want to be careful not to damage your rubber seals that are around that.
So it will not go back anymore. Here it is, and then we're just gonna
Loosen it back up.
loosen it back up.
And now the caliper is fully compressed. The Duralast Gold kit we got came with new brake mounting hardware. In the middle of this caliper, kind of like a V, you can see right here, it just pushes through and out, is the old hardware. Then it's just gonna kind of push and wiggle. He might have to get a flathead. There we go. Kind of like tacoing it, looks like. Until you can squeeze it.
Squeeze over one, over the other, right here.
So I'm gonna hold this for him while he grabs the new one.
So I'm gonna go up. Bring the other one down. Get my fingers out of the way here. Just like that. Let's see, top and bottom, right here, right here.
So the shims that go on the caliper hardware frame are also getting replaced because it came with brand new ones. I'm just gonna snap those up. If it doesn't want to go on, you sometimes get some rust buildup. You have to use a file to get that nice and clean. These look to be just fine. They should snap right in place. There you go. Holding the top one down. There we go. They're lining up. Dennis is gonna just snap that right up and in there. Here, snap in. So it sits kind of along this frame. There's like an L-shaped notch here. I have seen some old rusty calipers where these notches were like not even and whatever. That's what I was talking about with the file. You can see her old brake hardware is really grimy, grungy, just kind of nasty. You can reuse it as long as it's not broken or damaged. So if you didn't get new brake hardware, you know, a shop will tell you don't, but you can. Compare the brake pads from the old to the new. Here's an old pad that's rear compared to a new one that Dennis just grabbed out of the box. And you can see the meatiness. It's like 100% difference. So Dennis is going to
Here's the identical one.
show you. Hold them still right there. Don't rotate them. I'll move the camera, show you guys. You see how much different the wear on the pad is. There's 100% pad life use on these old pads. She got lucky. So Dennis is just going to slide the back pad in.
Lucky to have a great family like you.
There's that too. There's that too. So he found it easier to start from the top, get the top lined up and in, and then the bottom pivoted right down and in. You see the point on the top it's in. Now he's gonna do the front pad. You can see that also, comparison side by side, like 100% use there, which is, you know, talk about maximizing your vehicle. All right, and there is the there's the front pad in. So
yeah, just put it down at the bottom and then slid the top underneath that. We're gonna do one more thing here too before we put this together is make sure you don't have any of this on you here. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that this bolt right here, so this goes back and forth. We need to make sure.
So there's a rubber, that little rubber silicone boot actually pulls off the end of the bolt. So that's a caliper slide pin. We're gonna clean that old grease off and put some fresh grease on. What you're looking for when you inspect these is that they spin left to right freely. They come in and out freely. These ones do, but I don't know when the last time this car was lubed, so we're gonna put some fresh grease in there.
So just grab the rubber and it'll slide right off.
If this boot does detach, don't freak out. You can put it right back in. It's not broken. You do want to check and inspect them for seal damage. If it's like all your brake grease is leaking out of this, you want to get new boots or caliper hardware, just because you don't want water and grime getting in there. You want to stay well lubricated. So this is going to clean the old grease off of the caliper slide pin. So he's just using, you know, a Kleenex.
Or rag.
You can use a rag, use some solvent if it's really grimy or built up. These ones are in good condition, so it's making it super easy. You're gonna put a light layer of grease on here all the way around.
Yeah, these are just your slide pins, and
you're just going to watch him slide that right back into the hole. Until it pops over. There you go.
I just pushed and just naturally popped back in its place, and you can see here.
And then he's gonna just, at the end, we'll just wipe off all the excess with a tissue or a rag, just so there's not, you know, grease randomly on the car. If you're wondering why it looks like there's brake fluid there, it's because we had the car inspected at a shop and they broke the brake bleeder valve loose a little bit and spilled some brake fluid. It's not because the car has a brake line leak. Just to clarify that, in case anybody watches this video and wonders, that is not the case. So Dennis is just lubing up the second one. There you go. Nice free movement, which is what you want. Now he's gonna pick up that caliper and he's gonna slide it right up and over those new pads.
Take my finger here, push it down here. This is already slid over. And what we're gonna do, this new spring right here, it's giving it some compression, or giving it a little bit of bounce.
Just what you want. Just gonna put the bottom one in. Good and hand tight. Get the top one in. And I always recommend you start your screws by hand so you don't cross thread anything. Last thing you want is a cross threaded caliper hardware. End up having to replace the calipers for no reason. Put your wrench back on tighten. I think it says somewhere between 17 and 20 foot-pounds of torque. You want to make sure you get it good and snug with your upper body. You don't want these bolts vibrating loose. But once they're snug, my dad always taught me just go quarter turn. If you're doing it by hand without a torque wrench, if you got a torque wrench, even better. Dennis has been doing brakes a long time, so he knows really what it feels like. But that is the pads completed.
And you've got that red right there, and the red right there will just help it from squeaking, because it's like putting a rubber washer between the two metal parts. So when that dries completely, that's just like what it'll be. It's just like you're prevented from squealing. It's an anti-squeal.
So the external components that we used were a red tube of disc brake quiet, which is what Dennis is describing right here, and a thing of synthetic grease and caliper lube for those caliper pins, and then the pads. We used a 12mm socket. We used a brake compression tool.
Or you can use a C-clamp.
Or C-clamp. We prefer the brake compression tool.
And then we had the pads that we replaced, and then they gave us new shims and new hardware along with that we replaced completely.
As you can see, jack and jack stand here. One thing I didn't call out when we were jacking it up was that we do have a cotter pin through my jack stand right there. And if you want to slide that out and show everybody, if your jack comes with this, use it. The whole point is safety, so that your jack can't come down on you, your jack stand can't come down on you on accident. I'm all about safety, so anything you guys can do to make this job fast, efficient, and safe, go for it. Have a great day. If this video was helpful, you know what to do. Like and subscribe.